Hello everyone and welcome to the playthrough for Pro Division in the Platinum Resorts Tournament. This video is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic, so let's go! Hole number 1, par 5. And before I take my first shot, do not forget to look down in the video description down below to get the direct timestamp for the specific holes in this playthrough. So if you do not want to watch hole number 1, you can skip and go directly to hole 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yeah, whatever you want. So we're going to start off with some crosswind here, 5.4 left to right. We're going to have a little bit less, we're going to have approximately the same, but we're going to have a different distance of our club. Our opponent is choosing here to go with a power 1 ball, go max overpower. That is not going to be our play. We're going to play the same route, but we're going to play with a power 3 ball as we do not want to overpower a shot. It's absolutely unnecessary to do that. So, power 3 ball Titan here with the XY level 6. Max topspin, max side spin to the right. And we want to go, so we do have the red ring just cutting the rough on the right. And that is because we need to and want to counter for putting our ball with a great shot to the right as well for the left. We're going to play this one 2.3 rings. We're not going to add anything for elevation, so we're not going to judge this one as for playing in in downhill or uphill. So now we do hit it great to the right, and we go to the right a little bit more, but as you can see the fairway did slope down to the left, which means that the side spin is not going to have that effect as it would be having as it would be straight. What can I say, a very flat fairway. Then we would be going into the rough on the right, but this time we're just going to use the fairway, and then we're going to counter for the slope that we do have by using the side spin to the left. The thing that is what we do that is because we do not want to risk anything when it comes to going for the left side, going either for like the rough or the bunker on the left side, which is going to be difficult for us to do. So our opponent here is going for the rough bump, and we are going to do the same. And that is important to have in mind, that the rough bump is going to be applied with both long iron and wood club, depending on the distance you got with your drive and the ball that you're going to have. Now it felt like when our opponent was so much in between clubs there that we were going to go with the long iron, but I actually come in a situation where we're going to play the sniper in a minimum distance of our club, which is absolutely excellent. So you can see here 7 miles per hour in wind, and we're going to use 1 bar of backspin, which is going to take our ball towards the pin. We're going to rely on the ball guideline here as we're going to have crosswind. Tiny bit of tailwind, but it doesn't really matter here for this adjustment here. Minimum distance of our club combined with taking away 10%, so we are playing this one 5 rings with our sniper, so it looks very under adjusted, but it does work. Now we do hit it great on the left side, which means I'm going to miss on the left side, but we would be coming in very nicely otherwise. So that was hole number 1. Now we go to hole number 2, which is a par 4, and now we're going to have some tailwind for our drive, and then we do have one decision to make. Either we want to play it very aggressively, try to go in max curl on our club, max topspin, max side spin, try to get into the center, not on the left side, on the center of that fairway. But in this playthrough, I'm not going to want to show you an approach that is going to be max overpower if it's not absolutely necessary. Which means that we're going to play on the left side 2 bars of side spin, 2 bars of top spin, and as you can see here, even if the ball does say, like the ball guideline does say that we're not going to be able to reach over, we're going to stretch out, play ourselves 3.5 rings, because we're playing it 10% extra. And with those 2 bars of top spin and with the extended ball guideline, look how far we bounced with that tailwind, and makes it very easy for us to get over to that fairway. And the reason I'm only using 2 bars of topspin is because the ball is going to otherwise roll into the rough on the top there, as this fairway slopes downhill a little bit in the end. So that is important to have in mind. It sounds very technical while explaining, but basically we're going to use the wind instead of trying to go with overpower and trying to go with more topspin as well. From this position we are now, we are going to want to choose a wood club and a long iron that gives us a good amount of backspin, which is the Saturn when it comes to the long iron, or the Tsunami, and it's going to be the Guardian most likely with a wood club. Our opponent gets over there nicely. He plays with a power 1 ball, makes him have to overpower, and again we want to stay away from having to overpower. So now we play with the Saturn. You can see we are in max distance of our club, which is in general really good. I rather take a shot from absolute max distance of my club or in absolute minimum distance of my club, because it makes my numbers be much easier to adjust for and not have to kind of estimate how far in terms of max or min or mid distance I'm going to be. Stretching it out, I'm going to adjust this one slightly over 3 rings with the Saturn. And now in the end, I do find and get the feeling that I need to take away a little bit of that max backspin, and that is the thing that kind of messes it up for us here in the end. Pretty perfect, but as you can see here, we're going to get a bounce. We're going to come in a little bit too hot, and with a little bit more backspin, we would be using the hill a little bit better there. So hole number 3, and now we're going to play a par 3, and with this type of wind we're going to play with the left side here, because it's pointing a little bit to the right, and I do believe that the right side is going to be a bit harder when the wind is pointing in this direction. I do believe that the right side could be applied as well, and we're going to see in terms of how it's going to go. We're going to have the red ring just cutting the rough on the left side here, 5.5, and I'm going to play it 101, which means I'm playing it 1 mile per hour per ring. So I'm going to play it 5.5 rings, max side spin and 4 bars of backspin with our quarter back. We go with slight amount of, so we did try first and foremost go with a little bit of curl to the right, but take that away because it's not necessary when the wind is pointing as it is. Now we're coming in very nicely here, coming on in there to the top, but we're coming in a little bit too far actually, which is not that common. But we do get the distance to roll down towards the pin, and that is a way to get an hole-in-one if we can just get it straight there. We do want to get that roll on the hill, and that is the thing that we're looking for. And that is why we're going to play and having a landing position just in the distance of the bunker that we do have there on top. Our opponent is going to try something different here, and I can say that I don't agree with using topspin with this adjustment. I do want to have backspin, even though it doesn't look like, according to the ball guideline, that we're going to reach to the green. But we're going to get such a push from the left side that it's going to be a very nicely trickled up there to the fairway and fall back down. Now our opponent gets up there, at least gets to fall down, and in general is a nice approach from our opponent. Hole number 4, and now we are going to play this one straightforward. So the thing that I'm going to do with my drive here is, first and foremost, I'm going to use a Titan, so we're going to use the wind a little bit more. Max topspin, max side spin to just stay away from the left side. Even if we go into the rough on the top right, we're still going to be able to reach for the green in 2. From the left side, we're not going to be able to reach for the green, so that is why I want to play it with max side spin to the right as well. 2.5 rings. But now you can see here in the end, when I made my ring adjustment, I'm going to put it up there to max distance again. So I'm going to get the distance, the maximum distance of my club without having to overpower my shot. And as you can see here, with the topspin that we do have on our X Mile level 6, which is 4.5 bar of topspin, which is working absolutely perfect. And we're going to get up to the shadow part there, around 380 yards, which is going to be very good for us. And now we do have a decision. We can play with a rough bump. We can also play with going directly towards the green if you want to. There might be players that are going to try to play on the right side, playing the rough bump as well. But when we do get a lower trajectory of our landing position, that is going to be very difficult. And in terms of a general player, that is not going to be the absolute best way to play, in my opinion. So I do suggest that you're going to play on the left side here, instead of playing on the right side. Our opponent gets into the rough here, and now this is going to be difficult for him as he's going to have the trees in his way, a little bit at least, but also have the overpowering, especially with a power 0 ball as the Marlin. So you can play here for the rough bump. The thing that you do want to stay away from is that you do not want to get the fringe glitch, which could potentially put yourself for a very long putt or into the rough on the top of the green instead. So I'm going to go with 2 bars of backspin and max side spin to the left. And I want to hit the rough here. And as you can see, I'm getting a lower trajectory when I'm going to adjust down here. I'm going to only adjust 4 rings, as I'm going to lose a distance when dropping down there, which is going to be a hard approach, but it is possible. The reason I'm not showing the normal way here is that the normal way is a way that that is going basically straight towards the pin, trying to stay away from dropping down as much in the rough or rough there to the right, and go with a slight amount of curl to curl it in towards the pin and potentially making an eagle that distance. This is a par 4, which we will not see that many eagles, but at least the drive is going to decide if you're going to get the opportunity or not. So let's go with hole number 5. The longest hole that we do have in the tournament, and how to gain this eagle. Now I'm actually going to pull off a berserker ball. I know it's not general for the playthrough, but I can say like this: if you do not have a power 5 ball, you will not be able to reach to the position we are at. And so then you're going to lay up. Then you're going to either lay up straight forward, go for a rough iron, go for a short iron towards the pin, or you're going to lay up on the left side and go with a sniper, aka a wood club, to the green. But as you can see here, I'm going to use a big topper here for my adjustment. For my drive. And with a berserker ball here, it gives me 8 miles per hour, and it gives me plenty of distance to reach there to the fairway. 2 bars of side spin to the right, just put myself a little bit to the right there as well. The top spin here is definitely going to be very, very useful for us. So we're going to stretch it out, as we do want to reach as far as possible with our drive. I'm going to play this one 3.5 rings with the big topper. I'm adding 10% to my adjustment as we're playing slightly downhill. We hit it great to the right, which combined with that baby curl gets me a little bit scared there, but no problem whatsoever to reach. And we do reach plenty of distance here on the fairway. And from this position, we almost gained 400 yards. And now we do have an opportunity, even it's going to be tough, not to get to the green in 2 because the wind is too low for that. But we do have the opportunity to get ourselves to the tiny fairway island just before the green and the bunker there. And we're going to go for it, even though it's going to be risky. But you can see our opponent is choosing a tight, and I think that our opponent is already feeling from the beginning that he or she is not going to be able to reach close to the green from the start, and just going to lay up using the wind either on the left side, you can see left side of the game screen, or straight forward and having a short iron towards the pin. So our opponent goes straight forward here, and from this position it's going to be either a bounce towards the pin, or it's going to be a backspin shot directly up to the green. You can see here with the 7.4 with a berserker, we going to try to get into the fairway island, as I said there on front, by bouncing ourselves with the second bounce in the rough, rolling out there on the fairway. Max topspin, max side spin to the left. And as you can see here, we're not going to go with max overpower. I want to get a little bit more control. If we would be lower down on the fairway, then I would definitely go with the max overpower, because then we need to risk it. Now we hit it absolutely perfect there on that bounce, getting into the rough, rolling out there on the fairway makes it absolutely perfect for us. And now from this distance, we're going to have a wedge. This shot might not be working every single time because you're having to overpower and sometimes going to hit it great either left or right side. And And sometimes you're not going to gain the distance with your drive either, but I suggest that you play with the same type of approach anyway, because the worst case you can do is get into the rough there close to the green, and with a machete, with the backspin, the pin placement is not going to be a problem for you. But you can see here from our opponent here, with a tailwind combined with the backspin, he or she here will not be able to get this ball to stay that close to the green without hitting that uphill slope. So this is an absolute excellent approach from our opponent, and a very tough one as well. For us here, we are going to play with the Endbringer, and now you may be thinking like, why, Tommy, don't you go for the dunk? It's because I do have this shot dialed in. If you do feel comfortable going for the dunk, go for the dunk, definitely. Have in mind that hitting the pin could potentially, with a lot of backspin, if you play with a rapier for an example, could be potentially putting yourself hitting the pin and then fall back. You can see here my reference here is that I'm just going to drag it down to the fringe, where you can see a movement of the ball guideline, and I'm going to play from that position. With the wind, I'm going to stay away from the fringe and put myself in a position to make an eagle. Perfect! Hole number 6, par 3, and now it's time for the rough bump. I said in the normal playthrough that depending on the wind in the tournament, I'm going to play with the rough bump, or I'm going to go for the island. Now we do have wind that is just perfectly aligned with the rough. Then we're going to go for the rough bump. Our opponent is going to go on the side there, and I would have to say that I don't agree with that. I don't think that the fairway there is going to be the play, especially not with some slight tailwind. It's either going to be rough bump or it's going to be island in the center. As a base for this approach, we're going to add 10% to our adjustment because we're playing downhill. So you can decide for yourself here. Either you're going to play this shot by playing 10% extra from medium distance of your club, or you're going to play it in max distance of your club. No matter what, it's going to be 5 rings. That is also going to be 101. So you can also play this one as 1 mile per hour per ring. So all those 3 will work for you. 3 bars of backspin because we want the ball guideline to be a bit shorter, as we do have the tailwind as well. 1 bar of side spin to just counter for the crosswind to the left. But I would suggest already now before the shot that you should be staying away from the side spin to the left, as the push from the rough is not going to push you that much from the left and not that much into the right. You can see here we bounce coming in nicely, but without that side spin we will be gaining a hole in one. Hole number 7. Can we make an eagle here? It's going to be a very interesting hole in my opinion. You can see that we do have a very hard wind to start with, that for many players, especially for those that you're not going to play with a power 3 ball, then you're going to have a difficult time to bounce yourself over there to the fairway, and you will have to play yourself to the right instead, laying up to play with a sniper towards the pin. I'm going to play aggressively as our opponent is going to play conservative, because it doesn't really matter how far you're going to reach on this fairway to the right, you're still going to be able to reach for the green. But if you do want to have an open shot towards with your sniper, you need to reach as far to the right as possible on that fairway. This is going to be enough, even though it's going to be a tough one to make an eagle on. And I'm going to give myself the opportunity, but we do need to go with overpower. First, I do have the Titan, but I do change to a Kingmaker because I want to reduce the wind as much as possible. 4.5 bar top spin, max side spin to the left. And 4.6 with 10% extra because we're playing downhill means that we're going to play this approach with 2 rings, which is going to be 2.3 per ring. So we're going to stretch it out, and we're just going to find ourselves there with the light post. And then we're going to go with max curl on our extra mile level 6. We're not going to go max overpower, around 75% of overpower, because we do not want to go too far and bounce ourselves into the rough and go into the water. This went absolutely perfect. I would suggest here that you need to play with the driver that gives you the most distance. I know I said in the playthrough that a big chopper could be possible on this approach, but with this type of wind it's not. So then I would be playing with either the Thor's Hammer Extra Mile or the Apocalypse. And we kind of need to go over there. It's like if you can reach over there and go onto the fairway, going to have a very, very good opportunity to make that eagle from distance. And that is the thing that we're going to look for here. And this is going to be a key hole in the tournament. Now our opponent, you can see here, having a very tough approach here. And with the Guardian as well, it's not the best setup, to be honest. So coming in here too much to the left and going to fall down here on the fairway. It's still going to be an easy wedge here for our opponent from the fringe. So it shouldn't be a no problem. But again, on this par 4 and on every par 4, the goal is to always find ourselves in a very good opportunity, a very good position to gain an opportunity to get into the hole directly. So now I'm going to play this one with 1 bar side spin to the right, max backspin. I'm going to have the ball guide line, you can see here, just a little bit to the left side of the cup. And I'm going to play this shot as for being between minimum and medium distance of my club. I'm not adding anything for elevation. The reason I'm playing on the outside of the cup is because I'm going to get a push from the wind that is crosswind 6.4 left to right. Now I do hit it great, which is going to make me miss this shot on the left side because I did hit it great, which was unfortunate because otherwise I'm pretty certain that would have been an eagle. Hole number 8. Now we do have a par 3, and now we're going to get this ball to get to the top of the hill and fall back down. This is one of the holes that we have been playing a lot in tournaments. I think this might be the 5th or the 6th time we had in tournaments in Golf Clash. And I do have specific adjustment that I'm going to play with, especially if I'm playing with tailwind, which we're going to do here. And our opponent is going to try to go with a basic ball and an extra mile, which is going to be wrong. It's going to be so hard for you. Sure, you can get it up to the green, but getting a hole-in-one is going to be very, very, very hard. And that is the thing that we're looking for, because this particular hole is definitely possible to make an hole-in-one. So our approach is going to be with a sniper. Always play with the sniper when you play with tailwind. If you play in headwind, you're going to play with a driver. Then I'm going to play with a quarterback. Now you can see the cutoff there is going to be big. And the problem with the sniper level 8 is that we do not have that much distance there. But I'm going to go with max side spin to the right and 1 bar of top spin. The second bounce I do want to have just by the fringe there of the left. 5.5. I'm going to give this one. I'm going to play this one from max distance, which is going to be 6.5 rings. You can see we're coming in nicely here, but you can see that first bounce. Wow, that was a very high bounce. And we're coming a little bit too much there on the fringe as well, which is going to put ourselves to the right side of the pin. But again, we're definitely going to have an opportunity to make a hole-in-one there. And that is my play when it comes to tailwind. Hole number 9. Now we're going to play with a big topper again. And now it's time for another berserker ball. And I know you might not have a berserker ball. Then you can play with a power 3 ball with this type of wind. But in pro, it's going to be such low amount of wind here that with a power 3 ball you might not be able to reach over, especially when we do have the crosswind that we're having now. I'm adjusting 2.7 rings just to the side, then stretch it up just to gain max distance of my club, and then I'm going to go overpower. You can go max overpower, and I'm not going max overpower. I'm going almost max overpower because I want, like, the needle is going crazy and I don't want to hit great on the right side even if I do it now. But the side spin that I do have on my drive is definitely helping me to get there to the side. With this type of wind, it's definitely possible for you with a Thor's Hammer, maybe like 5, 6, 7, Apocalypse 4, 5, 6, and extra mile 7, 8 to go with a hook shot on, or a sliced shot, I think it is, to be honest. I think it's sliced. to the left there, bouncing yourself over the rough. But I'm going to play straight 4. I've done that in every tournament, and I've gained the eagle every single time as well. So our opponent gets just by the rough there and bouncing over. So our turn. Now we're going to go in max top spin, max side spin here. And you can see here, if we do aim more to the right, the ball is going to be covered by, the ball guideline is going to be covered by the 3. So instead of doing that, I'm going to play on the left side of the tree, so I can see the ball guideline. I'm going to add 10% to my adjustment here with the big dog. 4 rings is going to be the play, and you can see here that I'm adjusting also for the extended ball guideline. Slight amount of curl to the right, just because we do want to come into the right here, because as you remember already, we did aim deliberately a little bit more to the left. Now we get to the fringe, going to give us a very easy wedge here towards the pin for an eagle, and that is what we're looking for. I'm not focusing that much getting an albatross. It would be cool though, but it's not there. We're going to win or lose the tournament. So the eagle is important. So we do have an eagle on hole 5 and hole 9 here, which is going to be key holes in this tournament. Sure, getting one of the par 4s is going to be good as well. This was the playthrough for Pro Division in the Platinum Resorts tournament. Do not forget to subscribe here to the channel. Make a comment in the comment section below if you do have any question. This video here is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. Good luck in the Platinum Resorts tournament.